Hey everybody, John Mark here. Today I want to teach you a very important principle that applies to the situation we are in right now as the grassroots right wing in America and in Western civilization. I have a longer video about this coming out. I'm debating whether to put it out or not because I give a real tongue lashing to people who are violating this principle on the grassroots right. It's not most of you, but it's some people that are violating this principle, and it is not an asset to us, it is a liability. So I want to give you today a short version of this, partly because I'm short on time. I've been working on 3 longer videos, one of which is my in-depth analysis of what a civil war scenario in America could look like. So I'm working on longer videos. I don't have one quite completed, so I want to put out this shorter video for you to give you something to chew on that's very, very important. Remember this principle always in your personal life, and it's extremely important in the situation we're in right now. The principle, folks, is very simple. Always project strength. Always project strength. The only exception to this would be if you're running some kind of a clever ruse or trick on a mortal enemy and you're displaying weakness to trick them into thinking you're weak when you're really not. But that's not the situation we're in right now in America and Western civilization. So let me start with a personal example. You have to go apply for a job. It's a job you've always wanted. You've never applied for a job at a company this big before. You're kind of nervous. Do you project strength or do you project weakness? Well, every single one of you knows you have to project strength. You have to walk in there like you've got it covered. You display confidence because if you don't, no one will trust you. I'll give you another example. You've got a coworker who thinks they can dump their dirty work on you, even though it's not part of your job responsibilities. Do you display strength or do you display weakness? Well, if you display weakness and you say, sure, I'll do it, and you just keep taking it, what you're advertising is that you can be abused without consequence. So you don't do that. What you do is you say, no, that's really not part of my job responsibility. I don't think my manager wants me spending time on that. And if they keep pushing, if they insist, you take it up a level, you take it to your manager, you resist, you display strength, you do whatever you have to do. And yes, you do it with wisdom. Yes, you do it the best way you know how. But the point is, you display strength. You do not advertise that you are a doormat. Now, we've got some people on the grassroots right wing in the situation we're in right now that are advertising that they are doormats. And I'm seeing it displayed in the context of 2 types of conversations that are happening on the grassroots right. One is that people are figuring out that Donald Trump is probably not going to save us. So that exposes people who had their hope in Trump and had a lot of prior investment in Trump, and that's understandable because he was kind of our last hope within the current national level political system. If Trump isn't going to save us, we have to go into a secession scenario, or if the secession, peaceful separation scenario doesn't work, there's going to be a war. That's a prediction. I'm not calling for that, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to explain to you in a second why I use the rhetoric that I use. There are 2 conversations that I'm seeing this display of weakness coming out. One is that where people are resisting the idea that Trump is probably not going to save us. And I understand working through all the options. I don't have a problem with people thinking through. What I have a problem with is when people start lashing out at those who are displaying strength in thinking through the situation coolly and calmly and saying, listen, this is the reality. And you start lashing out like, oh, you're doing something wrong. No, you're just displaying that you're too weak to face the reality of the situation. So that's one place where I'm seeing a display of weakness. That's the more minor one. People are going to work through that. People are going to figure it out. The second conversation where I'm seeing a lot of weakness displayed, and this is the more important one, is when people start saying, you're talking about civil war, therefore you're bad, you're dangerous. Listen, the only thing you can do is figure out whether I'm telling the truth or not. This is the principle I'm trying to teach you, and I ask you to analyze whether what I'm saying is true. And it is true. If you do not display strength to your enemies, you are advertising to them that you are already beaten. You are advertising to them that they can abuse you without consequence. As I said in my video on intolerance, the number 1 law of political power, if you are not willing or able to punish your enemies, if you are not willing or able to punish behavior you don't want, you do not have power. And sometimes the appropriate play is not to immediately go to punishing, but rather to display strength. To do the equivalent of a gorilla that stands up as tall as he can, gets his shoulders up high, and roars. Like, if you mess with me, you are going to regret it. And there is a way that we can do that on the grassroots right now, as the left is brazenly censoring our speech and doing all these crazy things that they do. They think they can get away with it. If they didn't think they could get away with it, they wouldn't be doing it. And of course, they're acting on pure instinct because this is what they do. As many of you know by now, they just banned James Woods from Twitter. James Woods is a fairly mild civic nationalist. So if you're going to go out there and say, well, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, because they'll just crack down on us more and they'll censor us more. Listen, they're going to crack down on us and censor us. It's just a matter of time. And they're already doing it with Trump in office and with a lot of Republican power in Congress. What makes you think that continuing to display weakness is going to make them stop? It's not. It's going to encourage them. So how do we display strength in this situation? Because let me tell you something, Western civilization will not survive unless we display strength. So how do we do it in this situation? Well, it's very simple. Trump needs to act on this. These companies need to become public utilities because that is what they are. And if you're a stupid libertarian that's like, well, they have the right to do that, somebody can go start their competitor, you are ignorant because they shut down all competitors. They deny them financial services, in case you haven't noticed. And you're ignorant of network effects. The reason these platforms work is because of network effects. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. So Trump needs to move and do everything in his power to make these public utilities, Facebook, Twitter, Google. If he doesn't, which he probably won't, and this is the message we as the grassroots right need to send, there is going to be a war. And some people, for some reason, to be fair, not most of you, but some people get freaked out when they hear me talk like that. Do you think I haven't thought through why I'm saying that? I'm saying it because it's a display of strength, A, and B, it's true. Now, here's the thing. I am not calling for war. I am calling for peaceful separation. See, I'm showing you how you do it. I'm not saying anything illegal. I am predicting civil war. All sorts of mainstream media outlets talk about that. It is not illegal to predict civil war. So don't go out there and say, I am going to start shooting people up. Don't go out there and call for anyone to start shooting people up. You don't hear me doing that, do you? But you do hear me displaying strength. How? By memeing the Civil War meme into people's consciousness. Why? It is a display of strength so that the people of America understand if you try to do this to the grassroots right, you will experience pain. Now, I'm saying that in the form of a prediction. And the reason I'm saying it is because it actually increases the chance of a peaceful secession or separation. And the principle I'm showing you is very simple. If we do not display strength, our enemies will continue to abuse us and they will think they can get away with it. So how can you apply this? When you're out there conversing with people, simply say that. If they keep censoring people, there is going to be a war. Because when you take talking off the table, political talking is just a proxy for violence. And when you take that off the table, you leave people no other choice to defend what they value. You're just talking in principle, see, but you're displaying strength. And you're saying there's going to be a war in this country if you keep doing this. Now, will they listen? Probably not. But the important point is that we are memeing into the minds of America that we are strong and that we are actually not afraid of a civil war scenario. It's the other side that should be afraid of a civil war scenario, not us, because guess who has all the guns? And guess how the military votes? They voted 2/3 for Trump. And the military in polling is the #1 demographic that's in favor of secession. Just start throwing these facts out there. Get people thinking about it. Even if we know the crazy left is not going to listen because they're dumb and they're acting on instinct. Even if we know the establishment has no incentive to let us go peacefully, we're still getting it into people's consciousness, which makes it easier when it comes time to actually separate and do what needs to be done to save Western civilization. because it's already been memed into their consciousness. It's the same thing as Hollywood putting out a bunch of movies with a black president before Obama ran for president. It's conditioning people. This is a reality. This is going to happen. This is inevitable. So when I see people projecting weakness, it is my job to shame you because you are being strategically unwise. Never display weakness. I'll close with this example. I had somebody on Twitter the other day tag me on Twitter, put my name on Twitter in one of their tweets, and Kurt Doolittle's as well. And they just put a picture of a police officer. Like, oh, the police are going to come get you in trouble because you're talking about civil war. A, we're not saying anything illegal. We know the line and we don't cross it. B, this person doesn't understand that they are displaying weakness. They are advertising to our enemies that they can steamroll over us and do whatever they want to us and abuse us however they want, and all we will do is slink away. Well, let me tell you something. That is false advertising. That is not actually the truth. The grassroots right has way too much testosterone. So what this person is doing is engaging in false advertising, number one. And number two, he's advertising that he cannot be trusted. And number three, he's being tactically unwise. So any of you who have been tempted to display weakness, understand this principle. Never display weakness. Always display strength. If you are not willing and able to punish your enemies, or at least display the fact that you are strong enough to punish them if it comes to that, you deserve to lose everything you value. On the other hand, displaying strength always helps because people only respect those who have strength. People only trust those who display strength. People only have confidence in those who display strength. And people are only afraid of the consequences that come from people who display strength. Oh, and here's one more. I got to close with this. People say to me, have you ever been in a fist fight, John? Well, as a matter of fact, yes, I have. But what difference does that make? Does that change the responsibility we have to our descendants? Does that change what needs to be done? Does that change the situation we're in? No. All you're doing when you're saying that is you're displaying weakness. You're projecting your own weakness onto me. And again, it's false advertising because I'm not weak. Yes, of course I have fear. There's a certain amount of healthy fear, but it does no good to display weakness. The great majority of the grassroots right, with the possible exception of former military and current military, the great majority of the grassroots right has never been through anything like what is coming upon America. But that doesn't change the situation. That doesn't change what needs to be done. That doesn't change our responsibility. So what is the point of you saying that? All you're doing is advertising that you're not to be trusted. Somebody like me or like Kurt Doolittle or like the millions of people on the grassroots right that are not pussies instantly see through you when you say that. We instantly just see that you are a pussy. It's like you're standing at the battle strategy table with a bunch of generals and you say, well, our troops have never really been through a battle like this that's coming. Well, yeah, so what's your point? Are you advocating that we retreat and lose everything we value? Is that what you're advocating for? What's your point? The point is that you're afraid. And you're projecting weakness. I don't mind you being afraid because it shows that you're not completely stupid. But don't project weakness. Project strength. Never project weakness. Always project strength. Make sure you're subscribed because you're not going to want to miss my upcoming videos. That's all I've got for you today. Love you all. Till next time.
Are the stories about you true? They say your mother is an immortal goddess. They say you can't be killed.
I wouldn't be bothering with the shield then, would I?
The Thessalonian you're fighting. He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
That's why no one will remember your name.